Greetings everybody, Thunderhands here, Campfire Council. Well, at the beginning we had some pictures and me playing flute behind that. Channeling the holy wind, I call it. But back to the pictures. First one was of Geronimo sitting around a campfire with the boys. And then we had a flash of Geronimo and Geronimo's face and his eyes and the intensity in it, or in them. Now Geronimo was somebody that didn't take any shit. He was a warrior, and he was a supreme warrior and chieftain. And I say chieftain because some people looked at him as a chief, but he was not officially a chief. He was a chieftain, or head of, marauding bands of Apaches. He was well respected. He knew his role. And he traveled with, such great people as Nana, who lived to be 80 years old and was one of the greatest chiefs, and rode in the saddle and slept in the saddle and at 80. Okay. And then there was Victorio. And then we had women warriors too, like Lozen and Goyan. Point I'm trying to make here is, do you have a Geronimo state of mind? Because really you should. Anytime I put up a picture of Geronimo, like on Facebook or anywhere, it gets, at least 80, 100 likes, because everybody likes Geronimo. And Geronimo is known for having courage. Okay. And this has been known for, when I was a kid in Arizona, when I used to bail out of the swing, I would yell Geronimo, or when we would do anything like jump into a stream or jump off a cliff into a lake, Geronimo. Why? Because it took courage. And when the men in World War II, the paratroopers, would jump out of the aircraft, they even did that. They even screamed the name Geronimo. So everybody knew about Geronimo, but did they really know about him? Did they really know what made him what he was? Do they really know how he was trained as a boy to be a warrior? You know, Apache boys went through rigorous training when they were younger. And part of this training, one of the things was that they would take some water in their mouth and they would run and run and run because they were told that the legs were their best friend. And sometimes they would run way up to the top of the mountain and then back again, and they were told not to swallow the water, but to keep it in their mouth. You know how hard that is? Especially when you live in Arizona, and I was raised in Arizona. Just getting to the top of a mountain could be a major ordeal, let alone getting up and getting down and then not having any water. So that was one of the ways they were trained, and they were thrown in, sometimes they were thrown into icy creeks and expected to get out of them and crawl out of them, and then, you know, they were thrown back in again. They were toughened up. They had legs like steel bands. And they were taught a philosophy, and that was one of brotherhood and respect for women and a lot of different things. Now, when you look at the Apache people as a whole, when the bluecoats and the miners and the settlers started coming in, it was like a do or die situation. And isn't that kind of like what we live in today? A do or die situation. You either do certain things or you die. And back then it was you fight. And so they formed small bands within the tribal within the tribes. Okay. They formed bands. One thing I do want to say right now before I go any further, that Geronimo's real name was Goyathle, one who yawns. Okay, so just so people know, Geronimo came later, and there's a little story about that. I'll get back to the bands later. I know I was talking about bands, but I think it's important that we understand a little bit more about Geronimo and his history. So he grew up like any other normal Apache boy, and he had fun, and he tracked animals, and he hunted animals, and he was put through the same rigorous training, and he grew up, and he fell in love, and he married a woman, and they had children. And he was down in Mexico one time doing some trading. And he brought his wife and his children and his mother with him, because the people that they were trading with in Mexico, they had been trading with for a long time. Enough to where he thought it was safe. So as they were down in Mexico trading in this village, they camped in a certain area, and they left the women and children, and he left his wife. The men went in to trade and do their bartering or whatever, and he left his wife and mother and two children on the outskirts of town in a camp with a few sentries left there to guard them. Well, this group of Mexican soldiers came in out of nowhere and attacked this camp of women and children and had no mercy on them, because when Geronimo came back, he was told, I don't know if you want to go in there and look and see what's been done, but his wife, his children, his mother were all butchered and probably raped. And when he got back in there, he was just distraught. Well, wouldn't you be? Think about that shock. He just left. He couldn't even bear to stay there. I mean, they wanted to attack, they wanted to get revenge right then, but the leader of that band at the time was not Geronimo. I believe it could have been Cochise or one of those leaders. But they said, you know what? In fact, I think it was Mangus, Colorado. That's who it was. And they took off, said, we'll come back later, we'll think about this. In the meantime, Geronimo went and burnt his house down where he lived with his wife, and burnt it because that was a custom. Burnt every remembrance of anything he had about her, or his children, or his mother. Later on, they went back and they found these people that had butchered their families. Geronimo fought ferociously, ferociously. He was like a human tiger. He had a knife in his mouth, and he went to where these Mexican soldiers were hiding behind rocks and bushes and stuff, and he leaped, and they were outnumbered, and he leaped from rock to rock, slitting throats and taking these people out, which they deserved. And they were fearful of him. They were fearful, the Mexican army that had done this, and the soldiers. And they started, the story goes that they started repeating this name of Saint Jerome, or Jerome, one of their Catholic deity, saints, whatever, because they were afraid. But Jerome translates into Geronimo, and so all of Geronimo's fighting buddies, or parts of the band, they kind of kidded him about the fact that they were all yelling, Geronimo, Geronimo, Geronimo. Well, they were actually praying to their saint, but that's how Geronimo got his name. Geronimo, but his real name is Goyathle. Now, another thing about that the way his mouth went down on the side, like he was always frowning. Well, he was frowning, but not as bad as it looks, because he got shot in the face there, and that's why a part of his mouth goes down on the side. So I thought I'd just fill you in a little bit on Geronimo and what he had to endure, and the hatred that he had after that for the Mexican people, or not the people, but the government. He didn't really hate the Mexican people per se, because he took several wives, I think, that were Mexican. And sometimes they captured Mexicans and brought them into their tribe, and hell, the Mexicans wanted to stay with them after a while, because they were treated kindly and lived better than they did before. But anyway, that's beside the point. So let's get back to the bands of people, the bands of forming bands, almost like units, almost like spec ops units. Okay, they were the original special operations forces, only they were Indian, fighting the bluecoats. And did they do things like attack people and you know, stick them full of arrows and lances and smash their heads with rocks? Yes, they did. Because you should have seen what was done to their children and to some of their chiefs, and the bounties that were put on their head with by the Mexicans for scalps. Women, children, men, all of them. Bounties on their heads. Now when I say do you, think, do you have a Geronimo state of mind or a Geronimo state of mind? Courage. And also when I say Geronimo state of mind, I'm talking about an Apache state of mind or even a tribal state of mind. And Crazy Horse had the same state of mind. And that is one of that we don't take shit. And I'm sorry if some people don't like that word, but that's too bad, okay? Because that's what we're in the middle of right now, is a shit storm, okay, around us. Now I've talked about all this stuff before, and I do the yin and the yang. One time I talk, I'll be very spiritually minded. I'm always spiritually minded, whether I'm a warrior or not, but I will lean more towards the yin side and then the yang side, and then I'll give you a dose of both in my videos. If you watch them, you'll see that. Try to balance it out. But you have to think in terms of being surrounded by a force of negative thinking individuals who have no problem with murder or no problem with taking hundreds of thousands of lives in the name of destabilizing countries for their agenda of oil, or have no qualms about the elderly suffering, or no qualms about the homeless, or no qualms about anything. Now when I talk about the Campfire Council, or we'll just call it the council, okay, and gathering membership for this council, you're getting into a council that thinks like Geronimo, okay? And one of the ways that he thought, or the Apaches thought, was no, we don't go near villages and cities or where, our enemy resides, or where there's danger. We don't go near that. Why don't we go near that? Because we want to stay safe and we want to stay outside of the cities. And we want to live in the mountains with the Gon, or the mountain spirits, which they got power from. and we want to store caches of food and weapons, okay? But mostly we just want to live in peace in a community. But they weren't allowed to live in peace. They were hounded and hounded and hounded and constantly had to keep on the move. But they were masters at hiding their tracks and living next to nature. I mean, can you imagine running 80 miles in a day in the hot Arizona? Try going to Arizona sometime and just walking a mile. And sometimes they would hop from rock to rock to rock, okay, so that their footprints couldn't be seen. And they wore moccasins anyway, so it was hard to see them anyway. But they loved each other. These people loved each other. They looked out for each other. They were family. They were deeper than family. They were... The only word to describe them was awesome. And their leaders were awesome. You don't see that nowadays with people. Let's just take people in general. That's why, you know, the council needs you, but we don't need you unless you are ready to think or have a Geronimo state of mind, or an Apache state of mind, or a tribal state of mind. We don't need people that are on the fence, okay? Does that mean that you have to be mean? No, it means you have to have courage. It means you have to have courage and willpower and gumption. And yes, you should learn how to take care of yourself, and you will learn that, okay? Now, these people were sacred in every way. They were sacred. They had their god Yusin, and they had they had the Gone mountain spirits, which they did dances for. And they did have a psychic power. And like I say, they developed community and they helped one another. Now my dream or thoughts or my intention is to form the same type of community. Because if you watched my previous videos, the cities are not a place to be, and if you want to review that one about get out of the cities, I recommend it. It's on my channel. You can find it in my uploaded videos about how important it is to get out of the cities. And I don't have to tell you why. All I have to say is that review some of my videos, check out what's going on in the world. You think we have a lot of time for this? Think again. Think again. We don't have a lot of time. There isn't a lot of time to make a decision as to which side of the fence you want to be on. You want to be out there outside the cities with us, and we want to form groups of individuals, and we want land, and we want self-sufficiency, That's all we want, and peace of mind. And we will live in that type of community, and we will be well versed in the tactics of Geronimo, if you catch my drift. Nobody is going to mess with us. I don't care who it is. And we are going to sit around the campfire as a council, and we're going to talk about what we need to do to strengthen our spirituality and our connection with Great Spirit, and to avoid negative people, nations, governments, all that bullshit that's out there. That's where it's at. But sometimes, like, I'll post this on, say, Facebook or somewhere. I'll put a picture up, and I'll get all these, oh, I like this. Well, that's not the purpose of you just to like it. The purpose is, if you find it in your heart, join. Go to the website, check it out. I can't believe how complacent people are. It's just ignorance. I'm putting a link down here to Campfire Council and which is the website, and then I'm putting also another link that's always underneath this video in the About section on YouTube, where you can click on it, and one of them is join, and it just, boom, up comes a little form, and you just fill it out, and there you are. You're a member. You don't have to do anything else. Just wait for me to send you a newsletter. And also on the website, there's a list of things that we need besides donations, because we are a sacred organization, and we will be a 501(c)(3). Or is it C3? All these, anyway, we will be incorporated as a nonprofit, sacred, they call it church, sacred organization, which is a protection. You can't attack a church, okay? And you can't mess with people's religious beliefs. That's in the Constitution. Not that that means anything. It's just like the name America doesn't mean a damn thing. And people go, well, if you don't want to be here, why don't you leave? No, why don't you leave? We were here first. I hate that. No, you leave. Because this piece of land here called Turtle Island was here long before they named it America, after the cartographer or the map maker, Americano Vespucci. Who's that? Who the hell is that? That's what America's named after. America? It's bogus. Doesn't even mean anything. Just like their pieces of paper, their Constitution and Bill of Rights and all this stuff, that's vaporized. Boy, that meant a lot, didn't it? One president comes in and just vaporizes it all. Actually, it was a succession planned, okay? And it's not partisan, it's both, okay? But who gives a damn about the word America or the Bill of Rights or the Constitution, because that's all been violated. And I know people are going to get upset about that. I'm a patriot. Well, guess what? It's better to be a lover of the land, not the government. The land. Hello? The indigenous people know this. They knew what happened when this influx of negativity came in the form of people overrunning this beautiful country. You want to call it a country? Okay, call it a country. My country, my land. But it really doesn't belong to anybody. It belongs to all of us. So it's the height of hypocrisy and the height of egotism for anybody to make borders or say, hey, you know, you can't go across this border and we own this and this is ours and that's yours and we own these resources and no, we want those resources, and it's all just BS and you know it. And this has been going on so long that people just don't know it anymore. I mean, I guess they don't know it because they don't do anything about it. They're all afraid to do something about it. They're all afraid to say, you know, this ain't right, or they're even afraid of the word revolution, okay? Or fighting back. What a bunch of wimps, really, when you think about it. So what? Revolution, revolution, revolution. Even the founding fathers of this country said a revolution's good every once in a while. Clears the air, you know? Keeps things straight. But don't say that today or you'll get labeled. Who cares? Who cares? Label me. You do anyway. Label everybody. Have fun labeling. And all this stuff about the NSA and all. Who cares? Who cares? Or what they're doing nation to nation and attacking each other and killing everybody off. Who cares? Get out of the cities. Let's get out there and just care about ourselves, you know? Life's too short, believe me, to care about that stuff. So think like Geronimo, okay? We get out of the cities, we form our own territory, and then if people encroach, well, that's a different story then. But think of what would happen if everybody got outside of the cities in tribal units like the council or the Campfire Council, started communicating with one another and started being self-sufficient and all that stuff, and just boom, who cares about the cities and all the government and all that? Who cares? Don't give it your power. Pretty soon, you know, everybody would be out there regaining their own power and letting the fools be fools, or whatever they want to be, or whatever they think they are, emperors, or, you know. I mean, have you ever looked at some of these people? I mean, when you look at pictures of people like Obama, Nancy Pelosi, Sarah Palin, McCain, I don't care who it is, you know, Bonner, all these idiots, they look like dingalings. There's nothing in their eyes. There's no soul there. There's just, you look at them and go, man, they all got ties on and they all got their suits on, and I call them the suits. But they have this dumb looking blank vacant stare in their eyes, robotic almost. And who on earth would want to wear a tie? Good thing to get hung by. In a fight, if somebody's wearing a tie, that's the first thing you grab, pull them towards you, and punch them in the face, you know? And some of these congresswomen, okay, I mean, I like women, but some of them men look like they're on something. They got this look in their eye. I mean, you can just tell by looking in their eyes. It's like ding dong. And these are the people that run the country. Isn't that wonderful? And yet, year after year after year, people keep voting these idiots in. Why? That's why you don't want to have any part of that system. Even Jesus, Yeshua, said, "My kingdom is no part of this world." It's not any part of it. Doesn't have anything to do with it. Forget about it. Forget about it. I don't want to see complacency anymore. I don't want to see people get off your ass and do something, okay? Productive. Don't just sit around playing with your iPods or whatever you're playing with. Everybody thinks it's about, the latest sensation, and I wonder what Geronimo would have thought about Beyonce or it's laughable. He would have probably grabbed her by the hair and drug her off as one of his wives and straightened her out. I don't know. But it's pathetic. It's really pathetic. The way things have come to be in this society of idiots. Okay? Don't be an idiot. You don't have to be. Because everybody has that higher self. Man, but that higher self's really buried deep in some of these fools. They won't get to it in this lifetime, I guarantee you. Might as well call it. There's a saying you got to call a spade, but there's also a saying that you got to call a spade a dirty freaking shovel. Only freaking, that's a replacement word. Think about it. So anyway, check out the website. Do it now, not later. Go down there, click on it, look at the prospectus or the intentions. And my books are on there now too. So if you go to the right sidebar as you go down, it's donations. And then it's signing up for the mailing list and membership. Boom. And then beneath that are my different websites. And I think up there by where you sign up, I've got several things that we're looking for. We're not just looking for cash donations here. We're looking for people that want to donate, say lawyers that know how to fill out the paperwork for a 501(c), or people that know how to do computer stuff, or PR. anybody that has an idea of how we can propagate this movement, okay, grassroots movement. Only this is special. This isn't like any other, movement out there, or church, or whatever you want to call it. This is really different. It's unique. So anyway, I guess that's enough for today, and I'm going to say peace be unto you from my heart. And I do love my brothers and sisters. This is the handshake, by the way, right here. This is our handshake, connecting with my brothers and sisters. Okay, so until next time, adios.